So I'm going to cover my number one tip for surviving toxic people. But I have to tell you, it might make you a little bit uncomfortable. And I get that. I was uncomfortable with this for a long time myself. I was raised by toxic people, and it turns out toxic people hate it when we have supportive people in our lives. It turns out that toxic people want to do everything they can to get anyone who might plant a seed of doubt about the intentions of toxic people out of our lives. It turns out toxic people train us to keep our social networks small. My number one tip for surviving toxic people is to do the exact opposite of what these folks want. Now, I know you're gonna say, Louise, I don't have anyone around me that I can really trust. And I understand. If you're just coming out of dealing with toxic folks, or you're in the early parts of boundaries maintenance, you might not have a lot of people to lean on. You might also not be super comfortable building new relationships just yet. That's okay. That's in part a product of being around people who treated you so badly. But my number one tip is to find a way to work through these things. Work through the fears and the limited resources to find yourself some quality support. So you might be asking, why does support matter so much? Well, for one thing, it helps signify how different your life is now than it was with a toxic person. Things will feel substantially different when you have folks to turn to rather than a bunch of folks coming after you. Another reason it matters is because establishing, maintaining, and making peace with our boundaries is a ton of work. There are a lot of ways things can go wrong. They can go sideways. And having some folks you trust to help you through matters a lot. I know that you can probably get through this on your own, but I also know that you've already survived so much in relative isolation. When we are doing hard things, we deserve to be supported. It's not because we can't get by without it, but it's because we don't deserve to live our lives in isolation. Having support can save you both emotional pain and can help you save time. When you surround yourself with folks who have walked the boundaries path with toxic people, you have lots of others' experiences that can help inform you on what decisions you want to make. You can avoid some of the same mistakes that those other survivors have made. And when things do go bad, you've got some other folks to commiserate with. So you might ask, well, okay, Louise, but what if I don't have anybody I can trust? It's okay to start without much of a network. It's going to take some resources. It's going to take some time for you to build that network up. The first step is to notice if you do have anyone trustworthy in your circle. Sometimes we get so immersed in the grief and frustration of navigating toxic people that we forget that we do have at least one or two folks around who try to show up for us. Next, you need to take a look at your resources. Do you have internet access? Have you tried finding online survivor communities? Do you have any financial resources? Could you try working with a coach or maybe a therapist that has experience working with toxic people? Is there anyone in your extended family or friend circles who you have gotten good vibes from in the past? Are they someone you might try building a stronger relationship with? It can feel overwhelming to find support in our darkest moments. But if we can push through that overwhelm and focus on the resources that we do have, we can start to create the support network that's been denied to us. Okay, so maybe you've identified a few people now that you can think of that maybe be worth pursuing. But you might be saying, okay, so what if I'm scared to be vulnerable with new people? It makes a lot of sense to be worried about building new relationships when you've just survived some pretty horrific ones. It's important here to be gentle with yourself and recognize that relationship building is going to be hard for a while. You may want to start off with working with a professional. This kind of formal relationship, like the ones you have with coaches or therapists, can be a bit easier to get started. They're probably structured quite differently than the relationships you had with toxic people in the past. Folks like coaches can help you brainstorm and execute some small steps you can take in order to get back into relationship building. Another option is to find support with other survivors on the internet. There are a variety of spaces online where survivors come together and support each other. If you feel comfortable, you can enter those spaces on Facebook, where folks have access to your profile, or if you prefer a bit more anonymity, you can join pages like mine over on Instagram and just add empowerment through thought. You can create an account on Instagram there that has nothing related to your actual name. It gives you a little bit more protection if you're worried about communicating on the internet. You need to be a bit cautious with these online spaces. One, because the information shared is meant for general audiences, right? Everything you read and learn about in these spaces might not apply in your particular situation. And two, not everyone who comments in these spaces is authentic, right? Occasionally toxic people do lurk in these spaces, and you need to be mindful of that if you're going to enter into these general online support spaces. But it is a really good option to start to get some of that support, to start to understand that your experience was not an unusual or isolated event. On my own journey, I waited too long to find support. I was resistant to working with therapists for a long time because my toxic mother was good at manipulating them. Today, I still work with a therapist who has proven very helpful as I get rid of the last toxic people in my life. Many times, I would have benefited from working with a coach. At the time, I wasn't aware that coaches can really help you problem solve, identify roadblocks, and help you consistently show up to create the changes you want in your life. Today, I'm happy to be one of those resources for my clients. I was nervous for a long time to reach out to online support communities, but I've seen firsthand just how powerful they can be in normalizing some of the BS we all have to deal with when navigating toxic people. I am happy to host one such space on my own Instagram today. Whatever kind of support you seek out, I promise you it is worth finding support. I know it's hard, but one of the most comforting things in the world is to know that there are other humans dealing with the things that you are dealing with, and some of those humans authentically want to see you succeed. Go ahead and give this video a like if you got something of value, and hit that subscribe button. It really does help my channel out, and I look forward to chatting with you in the next one. Bye-bye.